I played a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Black 2 using only the Steel type. Pause now for a list of the rules or check out the description below. I ended up modifying one of these rules a bit later on, but I'll be sure to mention that when it becomes relevant. Black and White 2 are considered two of the hardest games to Nuzlocke, but the Steel type is very defensive, so I think I should be able to manage. Steel type Pokemon are also difficult to come by, so our roster will be extremely limited. Do you think I can do it? Leave a comment below now to place your bets. Time to give it a shot. For this run, I have randomized Snivy into an Aaron, that way our rival will have the Fire-type starter. After nicknaming our Aaron Rebar, Hugh charges at us with his full strength, but he's no match for our superior bulk. On the way to Flockacy Town, this elderly man jumps off a cliff right in front of me. I wanted to give him an examination, but he decided to examine me instead. I don't think it's my bones that are broken, man. Strange things aside, we reach the Flockacy Ranch and find our first real encounter for this run. A Riolu that I named Cobalt. I don't feel like putting in all the work just yet to evolve it so we can use it, so I just put him away in the box for now. Oh yeah, we also scared off a member of this little indie group called Team Plasma, some kind of freaky hipsters. Before we leave the ranch, the farmer's wife asked me for the time. Well, Miss Farmer, it's gym time. This gym wasn't too bad since Rebar has a significant resistance to normal type moves. Charon led with his Patrat, who must have chipped all his teeth trying to make a dent in our defenses with Bite. 2 Metal Claws is all we need to send it flying. Then comes out his ace Lillipup, who starts to set up with Workup. We're still not in danger though, so I keep spamming the Metal Claws until it joins its rodent brother in the afterlife, thus winning us the first gym badge. I lay waste to this hiker who stands in my way on the way to Burbank City. Burbank City is actually where I'm also going to be getting my next encounter, but first we've got to deal with some of the Roxy family's dirty laundry. Yeah, he'll get eaten alive in Hollywood. I catch Chrome in the complex to the south of the city and train up a bit against the wild Oddno in the area. Now it's battle o'clock, yeah it's gym 30. We've been through a lot and we're still hurty. Music reference aside, you can probably imagine how easy this battle was. Steel types are immune to poison, and since she's a poison type gym leader, well... She led with Coughing and I started with Chrome. I decided to go for a Thunder Wave and follow with 2 Sonic Booms as she gets paralyzed. My strategy for Whirlipede is similar, though delayed by a few turns thanks to its Protect. I also didn't get any paralysis luck with this one, but that's alright since it didn't really matter much in the end. Several Sonic Booms later and we have earned ourselves a second badge. And now it's time for everyone's favorite feature, Pokestars. Yeah, I'm kidding, this is nobody's favorite feature. Time to make some movies and get our face on the silver. Don't worry, the joke is over. I'm not actually going to make anyone sit here and watch me mash the A button for 15 minutes just to progress with the story. I'm not a monster. Traveling a hop, skip, and a jump on a boat brings us to the bustling center of the Unova region. But honestly, in this land of glamour and opportunity, there's nothing I'd love more than going to the sewers. Thanks for the tip, mysterious and unimportant girl. We chase away the hipsters hiding out down here and meet the local gym leader and this super quirky scientist. I expected the fight against Berg to go much better than what it actually did. We had a significant defensive advantage thanks to our typing, so I decided to go in a bit under-leveled, and that was a big mistake. Berg led with his Swadloon, and like with the Roxy fight, I also started with Chrome to inflict some paralysis and hit hard with Sonic Boom. Swadloon does unfortunately slow us down a lot with String Shot before it falls. Dwebble's up next, and again I paralyze it, but instead of going for Sonic Boom, I use Magnet Bomb to see if it does any better. The Magnet Bombs leave it with a sliver of HP, which is good for me since that means he can't use his potion on the much more dangerous Leavanny. Leavanny is the scariest one of this fight, and I wish I could say that we escaped unscathed. But unfortunately I did get a little bit greedy and overconfident. I kept Chrome in just a little bit too long. I got absolutely punished for my misdeeds by his perfectly timed crit. I was really hoping to get to use a Magnezone later in the game, but I guess that dream's just gone right into the garbage. I send in Rebar and lead with Iron Defense to reduce the damage I take from his Razor Leafs. A few Silk Scarf boosted strengths later and we've taken it down, but I fear that the loss my team just suffered would be felt throughout the remainder of the run. Immediately after the gym fight, I have another close call with that quirky scientist from before. I'm just really glad the run didn't end here. Some businessman doing business wanted to give me control of the joint avenue just south of Nimbasa, but thankfully screaming bloody murder relentlessly until he left me alone proved to be a viable strategy. Now I was able to take on Elisa, but first I obtained the Soothe Bell and evolved Cobalt from a Riolu into a Lucario. Elisa started with a Mulga while I led Cobalt. I figured she'd start with a Volt Switch, so I used the opportunity to set up a bit with Workup. She Volt Switched as predicted and brought out her Zebstrika. With the +1 to our attack now, Cobalt demolished it with a 3-hit Bone Rush, and after that, her Flaffy was met with the exact same fate. All that was left was her Emolga, but a quick return sent it flying thanks to our power of friendship. Walking back down the runway, Elisa teaches me her secrets of self-advertisement. See, she sees how only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed, and she really wants to help me get better, both in my modeling career and here on YouTube. So why don't you make her happy and hit that red button down there? You don't want to make Elisa mad, do you? Anyways, we backtrack to the Relic Passage to catch Iron the Drillbur, then head west to Driftvale City. Now, this city has by far the best music of any Pokemon town in existence, and I will fight you on that. I don't stay for long though because I want to get a few more encounters before fighting Clay. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I'd be changing one of the rules, and here's where that becomes relevant. See, Chargestone Cave is home to 3 exclusive steel types. Since they aren't found anywhere else in the game and I wanted a bit more variety on the team, I decided to modify the encounter rules to allow for 1 Pokemon of each steel type in each evolutionary line. So I can catch any steel type I want, but only the first one of a specific line that I find, and if it dies, the entire species is just considered extinct for me. Some people may not like this modification, and that's alright, I really don't care. I just wanted to make things a bit more fun. Anyways, I caught Zinc the Nosepass and Aluminum the Clink. After some grinding and evolutions, I feel confident enough to take on Clay, and that's exactly what I do. However, before doing that, I actually pick up the air balloon from this guy in Driftvale City and give it to Cobalt. This way I can switch it into a ground type move safely and dish some serious damage. This battle was definitely one of the most difficult of the whole run, since my team is entirely weak to ground type moves. Croc Rock's up first, and it lowers our attack with Intimidate. I predict a Bulldoze and then switch into Cobalt, and thankfully I was right. Force Palm then takes it out before it gets a chance to pop our balloon. I switch into Rebar, predicting a non-ground type move from his Sand Slash, and I was right. We end up getting Crush Clawed, but that's okay since Rebar is 4 times resistant. I use a combination of Iron Defenses and Protects to see if Sand Slash will start using Bulldoze again, but it seemed to just keep going for Crush Claw and Rollout. Unfortunately, it does go for a Bulldoze at the last minute and gets a critical hit, taking down our starter. You will be dearly missed. I really need to learn to play around critical hits if I'm going to get any better at Nuzlocking. Anyways, I switch into Iron and go for Dig, avoiding one of Sandslash's Bulldoze. The second one hits though, and thankfully Iron manages to stay alive. I switch into Cobalt, predicting another Bulldoze, and I was right! Cobalt manages to then set up and take out both Sandslash and Excadrill. After the fight, we handle the story around the Pokemon World Tournament, which, by the way, is my favorite feature of these games, and then get kicked off the Plasma Frigate. After the Clay fight, my team is filled with determination as we head towards our next gym leader fight. We also make another addition to our team with Tungsten. Once reaching Mistralton City, Professor Juniper just gives us the Master Ball out of nowhere for really no reason at all. They really must not make them like they used to if people are just practically giving them away. I also snag a lucky egg from her at the Celestial Tower and do just a bit more grinding with our team. Skylar leads with Swoobat, which is pretty annoying thanks to Attract. I set up a Sandstorm to beef up my team's special defense, then go for some super effective discharges. This part of the battle was really tedious though. Compasses are supposed to be attracted to magnetic fields, not hart-nosed bats. Once we finally dispose of Swoobat, she sends in Swanna, who brings Zinc down to just 3 hit points with a single Bubble Beam. Thankfully, one discharge manages to take her out in return. Roasted Swan, anyone? I switch out to Iron when she brings in Skarmory. I set up a lot with Hone Claws, then spam her with neutrally effective Rock Slides until she falls. Now, I don't want to bore everyone with the long runs along all these upcoming routes and new towns, so I'll just use some editing magic and... oh! Well, look, we're in Opelucid City with a fully leveled up team ready to take on Drayden. Oh yeah, I also caught Brass the Poniard. Let's do it then, huh? Drayden leads with the Druddigon, and I choose to go for Iron. Steel types are resistant to Dragon type moves, but his team has moves in their arsenal to get around that issue. I needed to be extremely careful, so I decided to set up with Sword Stance twice before using my first Earthquake. Flygon's up next, and since it can't be hit with Earthquake, I use Slash instead, which again gives us an OHKO victory. Haxorus is last, and our Quick Claw lets us get in an Earthquake before he could even make a single move. I don't know if that Quick Claw activation mattered or not, but I'm definitely glad we moved first regardless. Drayden was honestly a bit of a pushover. And I guess those hipsters from earlier got involved in the fight against climate change because now they're freezing over the city in a heinous act of eco-terrorism. Oh, but you should really focus on getting the 8th gym badge first, said literally every person in the game. I don't know, I feel like a threat of a world takeover is a bit more important than beating up this surfer bra, but whatever. A lucky combination of Discharge Paralysis and Shell Smash means that we can take out his Caracosta before he even deals any damage. Wailord is a lot more specially bulky though, so I actually need to switch from Aluminum into Tungsten to land some harsh Power Whips. But his bounce does give me a bit of a delayed knockout and leaves us with Paralysis going into Jellicent. I didn't want to switch out though, since Jellicent is also more of a special tank. We take a lot of damage before finally being able to take the victory with a final Power Whip. Hang 10, good buddy. With all 8 badges, we should be able to go take on the League, but first we have some loose ends to tie up. We chase Team Plasma away from the Seaside Cave after coming face to face with their secret weapon Q-Rem, and then find them again in the Giant Chasm, making a whole mess of the place. Before taking on the next few boss battles, I catch a Medang named Manganese and evolve it into Metagross. I actually had to use my Master Ball here because Medangs are really hard to catch for some reason. Zinzalin was a pushover with our super effective steel types, but Colress is a bit of a different story. This quirky scientist turned out to have some capabilities for misdeeds all along. Now it's time to make him pay. Bone Rush took out his sturdy Magneton in a single turn, but leaves his Magnezone on just a sliver. I take the opportunity to switch into Iron and go for Earthquake twice after tanking a Flash Cannon. Then after he sends in Beheeyem, I switch to Zinc since he's the most specially bulky member of my team. Since I forgot Beheeyem had the Synchronize ability, I went for Thunder Wave for a stupid reason. I ended up getting paralyzed from that little stunt, but I did manage to set up a Sandstorm next turn. Unfortunately, I had taken too much damage from Energy Ball, so I needed to switch into Tungsten, and it's at this point that I make a move that cost me dearly. I have forgotten that Ingrain traps a Pokemon in battle, yet I set it up against this Beheeyem for some extra healing. We take out the Beheeyem and remain in for Klinklang. I set up some defenses while it shifted its gears, but after it gets 2 critical hit gear grinds, I find myself in a tight spot. I try to switch out Tungsten, but then I realize that I just can't. I have to watch in dismay as she falls to Giga Impact. I then bring in Iron, but for some stupid reason that I honestly don't remember, I switch into Manganese right after. This seems kinda stupid in retrospect, since Iron could have handled his final 2 Pokemon much better, but whatever, I'm an idiot, I guess. We bring down both his Klinklang and Medang to reach the final Plasma boss fight. I do take some time though to thank Tungsten for its service and replace her with Brass. Wasting no time now, let's get to the fight against Black Kyurem and Ghetsis. For the former, I just had to spam Rock Slides with Iron, but then we get onto the real meat. Ghetsis' team is pretty balanced and is often quite difficult to beat. He leads with a toxic Cofagrigus though, which means that I have a fantastic opening for setting up. Cofagrigus, Seismitoad, Drapion, and Toxicroak all fell to Earthquakes, while I set up one more Swords Dance against Electros and killed it with Rock Slide. Then his ace Hydreigon proves to be a bit more of a challenge. He lands a Dragon Rush, which, although it didn't quite knock us out, does get the flinch. I'm pretty scared of losing Iron here, so I switch into Cobalt and shoot off a Aurasphere. Unfortunately, it's left with just a sliver of health, so I switch out on the next turn to tank a hit so his Life Orb finishes him off. But I had also forgotten about his potion, so now I had brought in Zinc with no real way to take him down. I decided to cut my losses, set up Thunderwave and Sandstorm, then switch out again into Brass. 2 X-Scissors and chip damage later and it was all over. I couldn't believe I had beaten Ghetsis without losing a single team member. Now our only challenge is the Elite Four. I bring everyone to the level cap, teach them a few moves, dish out a few new items, and then we head inside. I think the biggest challenge of the 4 is going to definitely be Marshall. Every Pokemon on my team is weak to fighting type moves, so it's critical that I have a strategy to handle each one of his teammates before they can even touch me. I decided to take him on first just to get out of the way, and things really couldn't have gone any better. He leads with Throw and I start out with Manganese. A Zen Headbutt leaves him down at what has to be just 1 or 2 hit points, but luckily we managed to get the flinch. He wastes his Super Potion as we get a higher roll Zen Headbutt to knock him out. MandJTV is next, but for some reason it just goes for Bounce and I avoid the damage with a well-timed Protect. A U-turn brings out his Conkeldurr face to face with another one of my Headbutts. We're just shy of knocking it out, but luckily we're faster on the next turn. MandJTV comes back out again and goes for High Jump Kick. I predicted this and used Protect, causing it to crash and lose half its HP. And then it stupidly decides to do the same thing again as I risk going for another Protect. Now he just has his Sock left, but it has Sturdy, so one of my Zen Headbutts doesn't quite take it out. I decide to take a risk and go for another Headbutt while he brings us down to low health with a Brick Break. And with that, we've gotten the biggest challenge of the E4 out of the way, and still have all 6 of our team members. Next, I decided to move on to Caitlyn. I led with Swords Dance on Iron against her Misharna while she puts us to sleep and eats our dreams. We wake up around half health and get one more Swords Dance in before sending it to an early grave with Earthquake. Rhea Nicholas, Sigilith, and Golf Mommy quickly followed to a combination of Oko Earthquakes and Rock Slide as well. Overall, this proved to be a super easy battle. Coming up third is going to be Grimsley, and to handle his plethora of dark types, I decided to lead with Cobalt. Whenever you start this battle, his Liepard will usually lead with Fake Out. Cobalt has the ability Steadfast though, which means that flinching will raise its speed stats. Just as expected, he starts with Fake Out and we get that speed boost. I then go for a Swords Dance into close combat and that kitty's sent flying. Crocodile's Intimidate undoes our attack buff, but that doesn't really matter because we still managed to Oko it. His Scrafty and Bisharp fall the same way. And that's 3 down, only 1 more to go. Like Ghetsis, Chantal leads with a Cofagrigus. However, hers has the much more dangerous Will-O-Wisp. I lead with Swords Dance on Iron while she connects with a Shadow Ball. Attack buffed Earthquake is then able to sweep her Cofagrigus, Chandelure, and Golurk. I'm really glad we didn't get burned here. This battle could have went so much differently. Drifblim can't be hit with Earthquake, but thankfully our Rock Slide does manage to connect. And that's the Elite Four done with absolutely no deaths. All that's left now is the champion. We're pretty strong, but I was still very nervous because Iris's team is balanced. She leads with her Hydreigon, who can best be handled by Cobalt. However, Hydreigon has Flamethrower, which puts us in some pretty severe danger. Her Hydreigon ends up being faster and hits us with one of these Flamethrowers, but luckily we hang out and take it with close combat. Druddigon also has Flamethrower, so I make the unfortunate decision to sack Cobalt in order to get a free switch into Iron. This allows us to survive a Focus Blast, get a Swords Dance in, and then take it out with Earthquake. I suppose since it's the champion battle, I played really recklessly, huh? Anyways, now with an attack boosted Excadrill, we took down her Aggron as well. I wonder if that Aggron was related to Rebar. Now, when she sent out Haxorus, I honestly thought that we would be faster, but unfortunately, I was so wrong. She took us out with a single Earthquake. Rest in peace, good buddy, you served this run so well. I go into Manganese and decide to start buffing my physical defenses, while she went for 3 Dragon Dances in a row. That's pretty scary, honestly. 2 of its earthquakes bring us into red health, while 2 of our returns and headbutts is just enough to send it out. I figured now Manganese is pretty much unusable for the rest of the battle, since both her remaining Lapras and Archeops will be faster. So I sack it for a free switch into Aluminum. I went for a Thunderbolt and got super lucky, landing a Paralysis. Then Lapras was paralyzed for both the next 2 turns while I set up a Shift Gear into Gear Grind. And just to make matters even better, the final Gear Grind was a crit for the KO. Now all we had left was Archeops, who had no real moves to hurt me, and who also falls quickly to another Gear Grind. Finally, critical hit luck was on my side. And with that, I had officially beaten this hardcore Nuzlocke. I was honestly super stoked because the Gen 5 games are considered the hardest Nuzlocke, and because this was actually my first attempt ever with the hardcore rules. Be sure to leave a like below if you liked the video, and consider subscribing if you want to see more from me. And if you have a suggestion for a challenge I should attempt, be sure to leave it in the comments below. I hear that comments help the YouTube algorithm. That's all I've got for now, so I'll catch y'all next time. Thanks for watching.